and
would
like,
be like
what
$6, $7 a beer.
you know, all the great brands in
Nine,
the
10,
middle of
$12 a cocktail.
I don't think
ancient
we have.
You go to one of them big ones,
I'm thinking
it's
like
gonna be $9,
light
$50, $10 a beer, $14 for a
celebration.
cocktail.
Railroad. That's why.
How you been?
Superdome prices is what I
Thank you.
got.
Thank you. Thank you.
Go to Miami.
Very abstinent these days. From
Go to
wanting
Miami.
to do anything that my kids are doing.
Go to Miami.
I went to Miami one time.
$25 cheapest drink you
And
get.
I was like, I'm gonna see her at the meeting, I'll remember. And then the meeting got canceled
Miami one time.
today. I was like, I didn't do her picture, so it's coming.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, they have great. They
Good food.
yeah, that and the Cuban food is real Cuban food.
And the coffee.
Oh, Evan. I forgot about Evan. We hadn't seen him in a minute.
I hadn't even seen
I've
it.
never even met him.
Oh,
Really?
yeah.
I missed one meeting and he was at the meeting I missed.
Oh.
What meeting was he at?
The last one, I think, or was he not?
Evan's our money man. He needs to go.
And he hasn't
Yeah,
been.
he's usually always
I've never
here,
met him.
but he hasn't been lately.
He hasn't been to a meeting yet, or not.
Not since y'all been here.
No.
He's usually
Yeah.
always here.
He missed the retreat and he missed the January meeting and the February.
Well, we maybe need to ask him, is the 4:30 thing a problem for a banker? I mean,
Yeah.
well, there we go. Speak of the devil.
Appreciate you.
And a finger split.
So we need our money man here. All right.
Hey, I'm Mary. Nice to meet you.
We actually, we will talk about all the details for the, it's on the, under new business for, 40th anniversary.
We're recording.
We are now.
All right, calling meeting to order. Today, Wednesday, March 27th, 2024. Time is 4:30 p.m. Hammond City Council Chambers. Michelle, verification of meeting notice.
Yes, was posted on the council chambers yesterday, 24 hours in advance, and on our office door, 24 hours in advance, and on our website.
Okay, great. Roll call.
Todd DeLon.
Here.
John Exnicius.
Here.
Mary Gito. Here. Chelsea Kesnick.
Here.
Jens Kinchin.
Here.
Kaylee Norton.
Here.
Evan Singer.
All right, amending of the agenda, there were no amendments. What am I looking at right now? I'm looking at the whole thing.
Yes.
Hold on, yeah.
Welcome introductions. Do you have a special guest?
We do have a special guest. Welcome Martha Schubert with Special Olympics of Louisiana.
Yes.
Well, there you go.
Okay. So it's, I'm Michelle. I don't know which one is Martha. Oh, hey, Martha. So we just have about 5 minutes for you all to approach the podium, and you can let us know about the Special Olympics.
Hi, I'm April Taylor, and I am the Vice President of Marketing and Development for Special Olympics Louisiana, and we are proud to say that we will be back this year for the 2024 State Games, May 17th, 18th, and 19th at Hammond. We're going to be at Southeastern. We're going to have our opening ceremony on Friday evening. We will have golf going on at Oak Knoll on Friday. Saturday, all day long, we'll have competitions, and we'll have a dance that night. And then Sunday, we'll have competitions in the morning and finish up by around 2 o'clock. The one thing that we want to approach you about is that in the past, we had the games here, and then after 2019, we didn't have multi-state games. We'll have over 800 athletes and coaches and unified partners come into town and stay on campus, and we would really like to have a great Hammond welcome for our athletes and their families and the supporters that come into town. So we're here to propose inviting all of the elected officials to come to opening ceremonies. We've invited the Tangipahoa Chamber and Tourism Department to come to set up a table so you can showcase all the things that the athletes could come back and do at a staycation. But we would really like to get some downtown support, whether it be for the torch run that's going to be running from campus to downtown on Friday morning, or whether it be specials for local businesses that want to promote a coupon, or maybe we have a specialty coffee at a restaurant or a special dessert going on that weekend just to help promote. We can actually produce posters to put in windows to let people that live in the community know that state games is going to be taking place, and look for volunteers, or have them just attend as fans in the stands, because not all of our athletes live in homes like yours. Some of them live in community homes, so they come without any family to cheer them on. So we would just love to try to get Hammond excited as a community to come and participate. You know, we hear about Special Olympics in Texas all the time, and in there, cities actually compete. They pay, and they have competitive bids to get Special Olympics to put their events there. And we really know that our athletes, for them, it's something that's really special and it's memorable. They'll be competing in golf, track and field, bocce, and volleyball. So it's a lot of fun for them to come in and participate. It's something special that they get to live on campus like college students. But we really want your community to embrace it, and really just you know, let the athletes know that you're glad they're here and that you want to support them as well. And we, in turn, as partners, want to help you do whatever you can to promote the businesses in the area. So we'll put together welcome kits for the athletes. We'll put welcome kits for families. You can set up tables at state games. You can participate in Fan Zone, which is an interactive area. So we just want to open the door to you to say, you know, we want your community to be involved in this process as well. I can tell you that the athletes would appreciate it, but more than that, I think if you actually came and saw what we did and saw the smiles, I think you would appreciate it.
I love that. Thank you so much. Well, we can certainly keep in touch, maybe with you or you, April.
Yeah, either one.
And we can work on getting that information out there. We love partnering with big events like this and making sure that there's a nice Hammond welcome. Have you spoken to the mayor's office yet?
We have not yet. You're the first. You're the
Okay.
first outreach that we've had. in
Yes,
that
I would
area.
encourage you to reach out to them, and I think that it will be an excellent opportunity for you to talk to them, and also the city council. We can certainly bring our downtown crew and kind of show some support there, but that may be a good fit for
You
you.
know that downtown is where all the energy is.
Yeah.
That's where all the fun people are.
Have you spoken to Melissa Bordelon at the chamber?
We speak to Melissa. We're members of the chamber too, so we do speak to Melissa about that. So we're going to talk to her about putting out the volunteer opportunities as well. We've spoken to Tangi Tourism about partnering with us and being able to focus on staycation opportunities, because a lot of athletes, although they do come from the state, most of our state athletes are in the southern half of the state, just because that's where the concentrated population is. So you do have a high rate of return where they could come back and visit. And then for the ones that do have families that come in town, like I said, promoting the restaurants or just some different things like that, we'd love to have you see a residual effect of having them in town too.
Yeah, we love that.
Wonderful.
We'll definitely keep in touch.
Perfect. We do. We want to reach out to the parish president. We want to reach out to the council. We want to reach out to the mayor's office. We want to make sure everybody's really included. I don't know that they have been in the past. I don't really know that it's been approached that way. So we're just trying a new way to say, you know, we're going to be in town for a few days. We'd love to have you welcome us. The torch run is a really neat, that's going to take place on Friday morning. That's the law enforcement torch run. So we have Hammond PD, the Tangi Sheriff, and Southeastern Police coordinating that. And that'll run
for
from
that?
campus. I don't have an exact route yet, but it runs through campus and then touches into downtown and then goes back to Strawberry Stadium. And that's where, but it's the law enforcement support arm for Special Olympics Louisiana. So we have torch runs going across the state, starting on the 10th, and they're actually running all towards Hammond. So Friday morning is the culminating run in Hammond, and then we let the few officers from each region that'll be selected to run on the track and light the torch at the stadium. We let them stay in their running clothes, but everybody else gets back in their dress uniforms, and then lines the field for the parade of athletes. And the athletes come in and high five all the officers. Like, it's really just, it's a really nice moment.
What time does that take place?
The torch run's going to start at, they're going to start lining up about 7 o'clock on Friday morning. And then the opening ceremonies that night, they'll start lining up about 6 o'clock that night, and opening ceremonies are going to start at 7 o'clock. We are moving those to the Southeastern Track Field this year because there is a baseball game going on at that same time, and there's some sound restrictions. And so we want to be able to do fireworks at opening ceremonies and have, when the torch actually runs into the stadium, have police sirens and lights in the vicinity on and just really make it a big deal. And we can do that at the track, and we can't do it at Strawberry Stadium. So we're going to move it this year because we want all the bells and whistles.
Yeah.
Awesome. I also would suggest reaching out to the schools, like the high schools.
Yes.
Because that could at least, get a lot of those kids need service hours, or it would be a great idea for them to come support as well.
We have a very close relationship with Ponchatoula High School, which is
Okay.
so that is a school that we know we reach out
Okay.
to as well. They actually sent some band members last year to like march into the stadium as well too. So
I would,
try to-
also encourage you to reach out to St. Thomas Aquinas, reach out to Hammond High.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, we
I
can
think
reach out
those-
to all
that
the
would be
schools in
great
the area
for-
because
That would be great for those kids as well.
and it is, we
participate.
have programming in most of the schools, so we have relationships. We can definitely do that. A lot of times the schools are resistant because it's, when school is ending or it's in their graduation timeframe. So there's a little bit of a pushback sometimes, but we will always try to do that because it is so important for the schools. And like I said, it's a great way to get service hours. So,
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
thank you for your
Thank
time.
you.
Do you have anything you want to add?
No, I just want to say, I just left some folders with Michelle, and they have the links to sign up for volunteering and all the information that you could possibly need. Give you times and a schedule of events, so just a wealth of information in there.
Let's be honest, you guys know who's who around here. You know who's going to volunteer and sign up, and you know who's going to help us out way better than we do. But we want to bring them to the table. We also do, the Kiwanis Club for Hammond, Ponchatoula, Covington, and Mandeville all come together, and this is one of the, they don't ever really work together. They all run very independently, but on Sunday morning, they come together and they prepare a pancake breakfast for us for 800 to 1,000 people.
Wow.
So it's, we do have some engagement on those levels, but we just want more.
Wonderful.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank y'all very, very much.
Have a good day.
All right. All right. Minutes, February 21st, 2024.
So I did some research on processes for a meeting. We basically don't need to make a motion to approve. I don't know. What did we do last time, Mary? Remember we?
Yeah, I just said I'd like to recommend that that the minutes. be
Yes, one
approved, and
reason why
didn't need
we-
a motion.
Yeah, one reason why we looked at doing just having the chairman basically accept the minutes as presented is because in the past we have not had people vote on the minutes if they did not attend. That's actually not a requirement per Robert's Rules of Order. Anyway, so it's kind of technicality. We can vote for them if we want, or we can, for the consent agenda items as they are presented, the chairman can say, are there any questions about the items presented? And then the chairman can say, we accept as presented and move on.
All right, well, does anybody have any questions about the minutes from February 21st or we need discussed? All right, then I'll accept the minutes as presented. All right, now the 2024 financial report.
Michelle, I saw Son of a Biscuit was closing down their location. Did they pay off their loan?
They have not paid off their loan. I talked to Oscar last night. They will continue to make their payments, at least for the next couple of months. He may make a lump sum payment sometime soon. They have, I didn't quite get a chance to look at how many payments they have remaining, but it looks like from that number, it's about a year and a half, because they have about 5,000 left. But they will continue to pay per our requirements, and he may pay a lump sum over the next couple of months, but he knows he has to continue paying.
And then the property taxes,
Yes.
121,000. How does this compare to February of prior years?
So the revenue checks usually come between January and March. We did receive one earlier this month, so it's not reflected in this February report. So when this report was produced, none of the March deposits are reflected. So our updated number is actually reflected in our budget proposal. It's around 330,000, and that's about where we usually are in February. And we do anticipate, we usually get 3 lump sum checks. I have tried to get an idea of how they disperse the funds, when we can expect them. I have not gotten any answers. But I do know in terms of practice, we usually get 3 lump sums and then some smaller checks, sometimes in the month of April. So we may get one larger lump sum, but we're already at 300,000, which is our actual. So.
Is there anything else within these that you think we need to discuss?
I don't think so. Since this has been literally a month ago, I feel like the revenue coming in has been one thing, though, where it did take them a little bit longer to come in this year, but they're still coming in.
I make a motion we approve the financial report.
I'll second.
We want to Todd DeLon,
Yes.
John Exnicius,
Yes.
Mary Gito,
Yes.
Chelsea Kesnick,
Yes.
Jans Kinchin,
Yes.
Kaylee Norton,
Yes.
Evan Singer.
Yes.
All right, up next, staff director report.
All right. So our history panels were installed in the park. If you haven't seen them yet, they were installed about a month ago on the same day that we had a train truck incident, but thankfully nothing bad happened. And we will talk about planning the dedication ceremony and that wrapping in with our 40th anniversary of our Main Street program later on the agenda. Welcome buds. Actually supposed to say bids. Welcome sign project is underway. The bidding window will be complete next week, and we would anticipate that the city council could award the bid at the April 9th meeting. And then construction can commence shortly after that. So we are hoping that our welcome sign project is done before the end of this fiscal year. There's everything kind of set up too, so that it is completed before the end of the fiscal year. It's only about a 120-day construction period. So that should be taking shape very soon. We'll talk about this towards the end, about the Thomas and Oak intersection. As mentioned last year, the design committee kind of identified this as a project area, and there was a pretty significant crash there on March 9th. And so there's been more urgency kind of brought to the forefront, which we'll talk about later as well. But one thing that I do want to bring to your attention, if you can take one and pass one down, and this is something that Todd and I have just talked about of delivering to the mayor and the administration, is basically a maintenance request for downtown. And I've organized these tasks by the department that would complete them to make it as easy as possible for them to execute on this. And so we anticipate that some of these things, which are feasible to accomplish, if they're prioritized, hopefully in the next couple of months, but by the end of the year, and we can work with them strategically to get these very basic things kind of checked off in downtown. This list is compiled from feedback of over several different people, over probably years at this point, of things that haven't been taken care of. But overall, most of the items here are really just maintenance-based, and we can work with the city departments and the administration to see how they can fit into their current scope of work, or how the DDD can see that they get completed.
So I'm looking at this like there's the railroad park maintenance schedule, there's no, they don't have a schedule right now of?
Whenever we transferred, whenever our warranty period was ending, we had several meetings with the department heads. And basically what was discussed at that moment in time and decided for maintenance has not been done. So much so that last Friday, not last Friday, but the Friday before, we had a volunteer group come out. It was like 14 high school kids come out, and they took care of several of the items for us. But it took planning. The streets department or the parks and ground department wound up coming doing some of the things, but the incorporation of the maintenance of that space has not happened with city departments.
And do we understand where the problem is? Is that, or?
I think we will find out specifically from the mayor and or Lacey whenever Todd and I sit down and talk with them about why it hasn't happened.
Okay. All right.
I have one question, just because this was brought up to me some months ago. The lights on top of the building, is that something that can be incorporated?
So that lighting, the string lighting, is technically to my knowledge, it was first installed as a central business district project
Okay.
years ago,
Okay.
like decades ago.
Gotcha.
So it's not a city maintenance item. If that project needs to be looked at as a whole, basically in some way, shape, or form, the CBD dissolved and the DDD kind of absorbed a lot of their projects. So I think at that moment in time, though, that all the property owners took the responsibility of maintaining those lights. So it might be something for us to discuss, but there are several areas that might need some work. But some property owners have taken upon themselves to correct it or remove them.
Is that everything?
And then there's a bunch of other information listed here. Also, another component of this, which will be helpful, is there's some interesting, I guess, changes, but I am the vice chair of Keep Hammond Beautiful for whatever reason. And I think that will only allow us to work more closely with the city and the department heads so that downtown becomes a priority again for beautification and maintenance. And there's lots of grant opportunities through Keep Hammond Beautiful. It really has been an unoptimized group that the city has. And there's a lot of really great work that the state is doing that filters down to us that we haven't been able to take advantage of. So Gina Anthen is the chair, and I am the vice chair. And it's going to be fun. And we're going to bring more people in the community to the table so that that group can have more legs on the ground, because it was basically being operated by Vic Cuvion. And if you know anything about Vic, is that he's on his way out. And he will say that, so I'm not putting words in his mouth. So some exciting things to come there, but that's even more of a emphasis for this kind of stuff.
So we'll see a lot of those flowers that you like around town. What is it called?
Flowers?
Yeah, you're like, some plant needs to be, I'm talking about a.
Oh, lantana?
Yeah.
I just like lantana.
I have one question, just a point of clarification. Under streets department, the correct parking within 50 feet of an intersection. I know we talked about that in the design committee meeting. Didn't we say we thought that was a little extreme, that
So-
maybe it needed to be one parking space and not 50 feet?
So this has been the directive of DOTD to the city.
Okay.
So I will inquire with Lacey about to what degree they are going to correct that area.
Okay.
I agree that it is a lot.
What is under long-term planning, what is the redevelopment of these two different intersections? What does that consist of?
So both of these intersections are identified in our master plan and also the city's master plan from 2011 that would basically have the pedestrian crosswalks narrowed and the actual space kind of reconfigured so that it makes it safer for pedestrians.
Kind of like at La Coretta, right, with the traffic easing.
Yeah, so like we would, I can show you what an example of what that would look like on, just give me a minute to pull up our website.
I'm assuming that has something to do with the rate of accidents at those two.
Yeah.
It's fun to watch on my intersection.
You know,
That's
and
my
a lot of
intersection.
times the accidents are occurring because people are going down the wrong ways.
I see that once
So
a
I
week.
just want to make that.
The majority of mine are people turning from the wrong lane, which mine's not going the wrong way. Mine are people turning from the
Like from
right
the
lane,
far
Yeah,
right.
to go
turning
left.
left on the Cape, and it's all day long. If everybody got in a wreck at that intersection that turned from the right lane, there'd be 35 wrecks a day, if not more.
So this is kind of what, this is actually the intersection at Thomas and Oak. This is what a redevelopment would look like. Granted, this is probably a little bit nicer than maybe what will happen because of the pavers that are being used. But the idea here is right now, this lane of these lanes of traffic right here, you have parallel parking, 2 lanes of traffic, and then parallel parking here. So for pedestrians, they have to wait out right here without having this protected island, so to speak, so that they can cross. Also, by making this look shorter, the driver senses that they can't go as fast as they would want to. It kind of like narrows their sight. So these are like technically called traffic calming measures. They're engineering terms. But basically it would make it safer for pedestrians. It would make the turn radius much sharper. So part of doing this would make it less friendly to delivery trucks and other larger vehicles, which would be something for us to consider since we do have delivery trucks using this constantly. So we had a separate conversation about delivery zones a couple of years ago. But overall, this is like the best. This is now the standard look of an intersection per Department of Transportation, and the Department of Transportation knows that the crash data here supports this built environmental change, and there would be other grant opportunities to overlay the funding of this. So really, the DDD should just be a partner in trying to bring all of that down. The city needs to prioritize the development of it, though.
Could we do loading zone area signs?
So we can discuss all that in a lot of detail. Basically, loading zones are only as good as enforcement. So the will of the administration and the police department to enforce that will be a part of that discussion. So we'll get there. But that's one reason why it didn't go through last time, is because the will to do the enforcement required to make it successful wasn't there.
Well, I'm just saying this, wouldn't the start to be to put it in place? And even if it's kind of like when you say you're going to tow somebody, but nobody
Yeah.
really calls a tow company, but at least we'll set some kind of standard, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, and eventually maybe they can get on board.
Yeah.
You know,
Basically, the loading zone conversation and these intersection improvements will need to coincide in some degree, to some degree, because the biggest complaint about making this type of change at an intersection is
Them turning. Yeah.
and delivery trucks. So,
All right.
Oddly enough, delivery trucks are never involved in wrecks.
Is that everything, Michelle?
yeah.
All right, then the mayor nominated seat report. Todd, what you got?
Well, we didn't have a meeting, so I don't have anything to report.
No reports.
It'll be the briefest report tonight.
All right.
But we are going to be meeting in April, and we
We'll
will
be meeting
deliver this to them, and we will report back
Yes, we will.
with those findings.
All right.
And we'll have another meeting with our resident committee, so we'll be able to recap both of those next week.
All right, chamber seat report, anything to report?
Yeah, I've been on the co-chairman of the Restaurant Roundtable, along with Jonathan Wong and Alfonso Flores. It's gonna be a parish-wide thing that's gonna be taking place. I'm sure some of you probably received the email, but obviously it's gonna have an impact on downtown Hammond. We're doing a restaurant passport thing. It's kind of the equivalent of some of the other events in New Orleans and other parishes, which we're also going to be trying to do something else in September. But it's going to take effect June 12th, and it's going to run through the end of August. There's still some details to be worked out, and we're looking for restaurant participation. I think they have till April 5th to respond to see if they want to participate, but obviously it's going to impact our downtown restaurants. It's really to try to drive business in the summer months when typically for most places it's slower. So I'll have a little more information and report on that in our next meeting because we have one more meeting coming up. But basically the guests, we're going to give the passports out for free, and they can pick them up at the chamber, they can be mailed, or they can do them digitally. And then each restaurant's going to have a signature stamp for whenever the more restaurants they attend throughout that period, they're going to be able to win a prize, or be in a pool to win a prize based on how many they're going to get. And the restaurants are going to put up gift certificates for the prizes and other things like that. So, but there will be more information coming from that as far as the chamber goes, but that's all I have for that.
When did you say was the deadline to sign up?
We sent out an email for restaurants that see about interest for April 5th, and that email went out last week. It's not going to start till June 12th, though. That's our tentative start date. Well, that's what we're shooting for the start date, because we have to have time to distribute the passports properly or have the people.
Have you
pick
gotten
them up.
good responses as far as?
I got to get with Michelle on that because I don't have that sent directly to me. The email went out last week, and I'll get a follow-up with them next week on where we're at on participation of that. But it's a parish-wide thing, but obviously Hammond, Ponchatoula area is going to be the focus because that's the most restaurants. But downtown's going to have an impact on that.
All right. Advertising Marketing Committee report, Kaylee.
Okay, feels like forever ago. So we did a SWOT analysis at our meeting, and it was so productive that we got to no other agenda items at the meeting. But too many overall takeaways to talk about here, but basically we kind of realized that there were some foundational things that we really needed to look at before we even looked at some of the fancier items like advertising budgets and whatnot. And so we discussed things like just the cohesion in our current marketing and advertising and brand as a whole, and staffing, like everything that touched on branding and marketing. And ultimately, I guess the biggest action item and takeaway that came from it was that we took some action to get a brand strategy going for downtown Hammond. So I reached out to some people, and Michelle, we hired, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we hired Allie McPherson, and she did Luma's branding. She's extremely well versed in what she does, more attention to detail than I've ever seen. And she is coming in and doing a brand, she's gonna do what do you call that?
A foundational
Audit.
Yeah,
I
audit.
couldn't think of the word. A brand audit. So she's going to give us an audit first, then we're going to do some sort of rebrand because our logo is an issue when we've seen with advertising and whatnot. And then basically it'll be a marketing strategy to move forward with. So it'll be some templates, plug and play type of stuff that is really going to solve a lot of problems without like a person in this office being a staff, because one takeaway from the meeting was that the DDD is understaffed to even tackle marketing and advertising as we are now. So we looked at how can we remedy that in ways that maybe isn't a full-time or a part-time employee in the office. And so we thought the best way to tackle this first is someone who's very knowledgeable in this specific area and bring her in. And she also, I think she's going to bring a unique perspective, a more personal perspective than an agency that might market a downtown or something. I think we're really going to get the human feel that Hammond is and has with her strategy. So.
And when I spoke to her, kind of where we were sitting with our discussions, and as we think of all the work that we do in the in our organization, is we have our organization and the services that our organization offers as the Downtown Development District. If we are trying to do more outside marketing, advertising, and really destination marketing, that needs to be its kind of own separate brand, because if we look at our logo, it says Hammond Downtown. Like, these are just basic things. It says Hammond Downtown instead of Downtown Hammond. So, and our website is dddhammond.com versus visit Downtown Hammond LA or visit Hammond LA. And so there are those small tweaks that maybe don't sound like super significant, but if we want to be more effective at structuring ourselves to do more marketing and advertising, I think that this is where she is specifically going to help us kind of do that. And we did talk about kind of whether it is one or two brands, or so whether it's segmenting our brand as it is right now, or if it's a merging of the two. That's kind of what we'll find out from that. But I think either way, this will help me significantly on the day-to-day in not only being able to like outsource the expectation of what an ad needs to look like or a social media post needs to look like, or the way that we talk about things. Like, I just think we're going to get a lot of really good basics out of this endeavor, and it will help us like tenfold, because where we're positioned right now is basically, as the Downtown Development District, we take care of the marketing of the whole city, because the city of Hammond doesn't do it, and we're one full-time person. So, and there are other cities and other places that have full marketing teams. So if we want to continue to be competitive and strategic, I think that this is really what we need.
Yeah,
and we are continuing on that path.
And one thing I didn't mention, and it was the most impressive thing in the proposal that she sent us, was she does a audit and strategy for your internal and external communications within the entity, and that is not super common within a brand strategy. So I thought that's like an extremely valuable thing, that she looks at, how staff is communicating and what platforms they're using to communicate and keep things central and all of that. So I think it's going to just take us a big step forward.
What is the lead time on? She thinks she will have a lot of those.
So I was going to say, since I spoke to her recently, where we're at right now is we need to put together a group of 4 individuals that really understand and grasp like the realm of marketing and kind of where Hammond needs to be. So Kaylee and I are working together to identify 3 people through the board and then probably also through the committee. So we'll be reaching out to you all if we feel like you'd be a good fit for that. And then we'll do like an intensive session with that group in person in Hammond. I did talk to her about doing it in person. We feel like that would be best. We're targeting the week after either the week of the 8th or the week of the 15th for that intensive session. And from there, she has like a full timeline, and I can send that out to you. But we're looking at around like a 6 to 8 week turnaround of her being able to present to us. So she's able to work really quickly too.
Okay.
Yeah, and I communicated with her about, which we'll talk about in a minute, the 40th anniversary celebration, and that we would like to maybe unveil a new or revamped logo at that event. Not obviously her whole final product, but maybe like something to show the community of what's going on.
Will she be bringing? Will she be presenting concepts like options, or it's going to be a finished product by the time she gets to us? Or
Oh no, it'll be very intensive.
Yeah.
Her proposal was, we can send it to you guys so you can see the breakdown, but it was very, very detailed as far
More
as.
than likely, we will probably have like a report related to all of this at our April meeting, and then at our May meeting would probably be like the final version. So you'll be seeing, I guess, more of this in your emails, but since we haven't gotten started yet with the intensive session, that's kind of, it may wind up being we will make it an agenda item for this so the board can be involved.
Where is she located?
She's in Alexandria, Alexandria, I think?
She's in actually Canton, Mississippi.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yes. So she worked with Luma on their, who's looked at Luma's like photography and their brand, and you just feel like there's something about it that just looks so special. That's something that we were thinking about for Hammond that is missing a lot. So we feel like she would be a good fit for that, and she's worked with several other clients in like Laplace area and Covington.
She's worked with Lauren Carroll, who several people know, on some branding. She's doing Luma's new branding, but her work is very thorough, and it comes from a little bit of a different perspective than your average brand marketing. So I think it's just also, not only is it gonna set us apart, but it's gonna bring a different perspective for a downtown, the way we're like kind of like a Waco, Texas, Magnolia kind of feel without but a
Not the
Hammond.
commercialization.
Yes. But her breakdown is week by week. I mean, you can see, we'll send that to all of you guys, like what is being worked on for the project. It's broken down by week, so what'll be accomplished each week.
Yeah.
Anything else on that? Next up is the design committee.
Yep,
Mary.
so we met on March 14th, and we met with one business owner to approve a grant for his business for reimbursement of painting of his business. We talked about the welcome sign. We got into some detail of that, and Roy Dufresh talked about the bids and everything and when that was coming in. We had a long discussion about the history panels at Railroad Park. We had a really long discussion about this intersection issue, and I know we're going to talk about that later in the agenda, but about we had several members who felt very strongly that the DDD Design Committee needed to make a recommendation to the city to make this a priority, like pretty immediately. So we voted on that as well, and then that was pretty much it. We kind of went through the properties around the area, and everything's looking good.
All right, events committee, Chelsea?
Yep. So we met last on March 4th. Big focus was, well, actually, we didn't really have a quorum, right?
We did.
No, because Jesse wasn't at the first one. But we still talked about a lot of things. So one thing we nailed down for Hot August is that the map will essentially stay the same. We talked about different ways of navigating traffic, and do you want me to mention the hot air balloon? Yeah. Okay. We also had someone come in and to do like a hot air balloon installation, which if we do it in Kate Square Park, that would essentially take up that entire space. So one thing we're still looking at is different properties around downtown to potentially do the hot air balloon, or, if it even makes sense. But we just thought it'd be like another really cool attraction, kind of plays into, summer themes and whatnot.
So what does this mean? The hot air balloon just sits in the middle, or does it
No,
go
like
up?
people can actually,
They're tethered rides.
yeah, it's
Oh,
tethered
okay,
rides.
so it goes up and down.
So they need a lot of space.
They need a lot
They
of
have to go up, so we have to watch like tree lines and everything.
So we're trying to make it work. I did talk to him recently, and so Hammond used to have a balloon festival. That used to be our thing, and we don't have it anymore. It's been tied up with the air show. Anyway, even if we just have a visual element of a hot air balloon, we have at the corner of Coleman and Southwest Railroad, that vacant lot that's there right now. We're looking at that just to be like a visual element to kind of like pull people in and just be a part of like the atmosphere. We would really love to do the tethered rides. There's additional like liability involved with that, so trying to do that on private property would require that private property owner being okay with that. So we'd have to find public property really to do it. And it's been kind of a challenge trying to find a space in downtown that has the...
And Kate Square is not an option usually?
No, it is, but
That's
if
where you
we,
keep the stage.
yeah, if we do it there, then the stage can't go there.
Yeah.
Z-Mary?
Seymour would be a little bit out of the way, like
Yeah.
in terms of downtown. So we are going to go back to just as like a fun little thing for y'all to think about. If there's any places in downtown that you feel would be a good fit, certainly direct them to Chelsea after the meeting, and then we can talk about it at the events committee meeting next, which will be on April 8th.
We also talked about pushing the main stage band back by, I think it was an hour, and then making it longer, because a lot of the feedback we found from last year was that it started too early, it was way too hot, and then it ended too soon as well. So we kind of expanded that time frame.
By Discoveries.
Oh, that lot,
Private-
it's, yeah, we looked
Oh,
at it,
private.
it's,
Yeah.
Because I was like, wait, that would be
it would
kind
be
of great.
perfect, it would be
Yeah.
perfect, yeah.
Yeah.
So what I anticipate we'll do at our April meeting is probably like present a map and schedule of Hot August so that y'all can look at it.
Yeah.
Is temperature really that big of a factor though?
For the hot air balloon?
No, I'm talking about for the live music. I mean,
It wasn't necessarily temperature, it was more like people were still in the middle of the wine walk, and so we didn't get a great turnout because they were focused on trying to hit the spots.
right, okay.
So basically, we're just shifting the wine and cheese stroll back an hour because it ended at 7. We're gonna end it at 8, and then the main stage is gonna end at 9 instead of 8 like it did last year.
Yeah. Last year, we ended both at the same time.
Right, so it was, they were coinciding.
Yeah, yeah.
Gotcha.
So you still give people like an hour of music.
Or could you move the wine stroll up a little bit to give that time to finish sooner?
I think heat and temperature would be an issue there.
Yeah. So
The whole idea is to promote people
Right,
walking
yeah,
and,
right, yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
I get it, I mean,
So we're basically looking at 4 to 8 for the wine and cheese, and then we're still working on the schedule. But the end time for the main stage would be 9. We didn't really want to go past 9.
because of the crowd
We're dipping
situation.
into the
Yeah,
crowd.
and then also if people go into restaurants, like the restaurants would schedule music, and that actually worked really well last time of like us ending our entertainment at 8. People had no place to go except for the restaurants, which is kind of the purpose. But so yeah,
What else? So we'll
Just-
talk, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Just from a restaurant standpoint, and I don't, I mean, I know there's some of us, but that's one of the nights that like we wrap it up quickly because it gets, the later it gets, the rougher it gets.
Yeah.
That's one of the nights that we don't play around with. Like, I want my staff to be able to get out of there safely,
Yeah.
quickly,
Well,
so.
I talked through that too, because one of the things was last year we were promoting bands to play. You know, we had the whole like hot music,
Right.
or I'm sorry, live music hot spots in different locations. So I started my band later last year, whereas this year, if the band in the park ends at 9, I'm not going to do a late night band. So I'm with
Yeah,
you.
yeah, I mean, like it just, in the past years prior to last year, down where I'm at,
Yeah.
we've had some incidents. So for the safety of my staff, that's the one night of the year that we call it at 9 o'clock, and then that's a wrap. We
Yeah.
clean up, and then I make sure everybody gets to their car safely, and we get out of there before something happens. There's just too much. I mean, I'm just one
Yeah.
business
well, and I think
speaking.
yes,
you know.
I think from a business owner standpoint, that is the resounding thought: is the earlier the better. From the public standpoint, they're like, why are you ending this event so early? And so I think that maybe we can just kind of rehash that discussion with the committee and just think about the full picture again, because timing is really everything
Right.
with this crowd. And even though we can't avoid, we can't like please everybody, we want to make sure that we try to accommodate some of the feedback that we had from last year.
Didn't, like, I'm talking like 10 years ago, old Hot August, the band used to go to like 10 or so?
We didn't have a
No?
band.
Oh, they didn't have a band.
Didn't have a main
No.
stage.
It was just that wild downtown.
Well, it wasn't really. I mean, it was really just the wine and cheese walk. And
But it was wild.
businesses.
It was
like
wild.
Yes, it was.
It was wild. Yeah, and then, what else do we talk
I think that kind of sums it all up.
about?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I'll wait for the Main Street conversation till later.
All right, Farmers Market Committee, that's me, but I wasn't able to be at that meeting. So there was a SWOT analysis done. Michelle, you want to speak a little bit on that?
Yes, so we just we did SWOT analysis with all of our committees, which has been super fun.
Therapeutic.
Well, I felt like for the events committee, we would have to do like a SWOT of every event,
Yeah, and then would be too much.
and then it'd be too much. But we probably should have done one at least
No,
for
we're-
Hot August.
we're
I know. So we kind of just engaged with some discussion with them around areas of improvement for the market. We did a brief preview of some more in-depth guideline revisions, which we'll talk about later. But overall, the committee is very productive, and we have community seats as a part of that now, which is kind of a shift from how the committee was structured in the past. So it's not just our vendors, it's vendors and customers kind of serving on there, and they're all very ambitious to participate and see the market succeed.
All right.
More to come.
Merchant Committee.
All right, we had our first meeting to revitalize this committee, which I don't believe has been in play for a while. We were able to select our committee chairs for that, and we too did a SWOT analysis. But we were able to identify some things that we're looking forward to working on. But just a couple of the things that we really I think that we're looking forward to from the Merchants Committee. There's 6 other people besides myself on the committee that were all in attendance. We're looking forward to working with the events committee, and also the events committee mostly, and also the advertising marketing committee in the future as well. I mean, our next meeting's on April 11th, and I think we'll be able to get some more things going from there. But it was our first meeting. I was just happy we had a great turnout and everything went well.
And what's been interesting with the SWOT analysis is that even though we're kind of conducting them all through a different lens, like the Merchant Committee was doing business in downtown, the Residential Committee was living downtown, the Farmers Market was, just really the Farmers Market. It's been interesting that there's been commonalities through all of them. So I need to go back and kind of like look through them and see specifically what all the commonalities have been. But I think it shows that the overlapping themes are going to be the areas that we should be focusing on. And most of it is marketing and advertising. And there's a lot of infrastructure improvements that are a part of that too. Parking always comes up. So good stuff.
Residential Committee, Todd? Anything to say for Residential Committee?
Oh, yeah, we didn't have a meeting, and we have a meeting scheduled for next week, so we'll recap at next month's meeting.
Okay.
We only meet every 2 months, by the way. So.
Yeah.
All right. Old business. We have appointment of DDD committee seats, events. Will Burris. Residential, Shayna Ruffin. Nominated by Councilman Wells.
Well, that's actually nominated by Councilman Andrews, and I'm still waiting on a nomination from Councilman Wells.
Okay.
Michelle, real quick.
Yes.
So for events, I'm happy to have Will, but
Yeah.
we would still need an additional person now, right?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Why?
The-
Oh, Ben.
Yeah.
That's right. Yes. We can approve Will, and then it's fine. Well, if y'all want to. I don't get a vote.
All right.
Yeah, so I will, we all know Will. Will has actually served on the events committee probably the longest of any of our existing committee members. He's been a part of it for a while. And then residential, Shayna Ruffin is a resident off of Church Street on this side. She was nominated by Councilman Andrews. The residential committee identified a need for more diversity and also for more perspectives to be at the table. So we thought that a good fit for that would be to talk to our council people and see who they would think would be a good fit. They both overlap with our district, and so unfortunately haven't had a chance to get a nomination from Councilman Wells, but Shayna is happy to serve.
All right. Well, I'll make a motion to approve both.
Second.
1 second.
Oh, Can we approve both? Or just
Wait,
one?
actually,
You can,
I learned that we can, as long as we say a slate of, or something like that.
a slate of?
Not like, whenever we did like all of those committee things, we could have just said the slate of 2024 committee members. Yes,
So we wasted 30 minutes.
we did waste 30 minutes, and now we know.
kidding.
Yeah, sorry about that. Okay, so make a motion to approve.
The slate, I'm making a motion to approve the slate of committee members.
For-
Second.
Okay. It works fine. Whatever. I'll make it up whenever I'm doing the meeting minutes. Todd DeLon,
Yes.
John Exnicius,
Yeah.
Mary Guito,
Sorry, I just took a sip of my drink. Yes.
Chelsea Kestick,
Yes.
Chance Kitchen,
Yeah.
Kaylee Norton,
Yes.
Evan Singer.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, next up, discussion of budget for fiscal year 2025.
Okay. Basically, I will start. I'm going to keep it pretty high level today. I'm going to leave this with you all to kind of like think about and digest a little bit. And then at our next meeting, I will have like a formal letter, budget narrative, and all that kind of stuff. The way I kind of devised this document was I presented our fiscal year 2023 numbers. So if you look in the third column, the third column is our original budget. This is what we proposed to spend last fiscal year. And then I did the actual for last fiscal year, and then the variance between both of those. So the original subtracted the actual. And that shows you kind of where we actually performed with our last full fiscal year. I kind of, by doing that, which is actually not a process that the city does, we don't typically go back and look at all of our end of year actuals. But I felt like I really needed to do that to get a full picture to see like how is our budget kind of performing and where are we spending? Because when we did our budget for fiscal year 2023, we kind of did a gut check to a lot of our different line items and tried to project a better budget than we had in the past. So basically with that, and given the variability of our work and our plans versus what actually happens, you can see that the differences between what we actually budgeted in fiscal year 2023 versus the actual. There are a few discrepancies. We wound up making more revenue than we anticipated, mostly because of Railroad Park. We didn't wind up spending as much on staff, so I'm not going to go through any of that, but you can certainly take a look at some of those things. For planning for fiscal year 2024, I ran the same scenario where we have our original budget, which was the budget that we adopted last year. And then we have the actual as of yesterday, or at least per the city's accounting software, pending that journal entries are up to date. So you can kind of see where we're at right now currently. And then budget that we have left to either acquire or what is over budget. And there are still some areas that we need to take a look at for this fiscal year related to our gold and silver sponsorships and the advertising of picnic table sponsorships. It simply has just not been something that I've been able to get to. We did budget for purchasing of iPads, which has kind of been put on hold because of city IT department, but I'm going to try to clear that up for the end of the fiscal year. And some other additional items that you can see there, just some notes related to where our current budget is at. And in looking at our fiscal year 2025, well, actually, I'll stop there. Y'all following? Maybe, maybe not. For fiscal year 2025, I'll start with the revenue. So I'm all the way on the second to last column for the proposed budget. One thing yet that in looking back at our previous fiscal year, was that we received much, much more tax revenue than we had anticipated. And so one thing I've been trying to work on for the past couple of days is to get a better number from the assessor, the legislative auditor, or the sheriff. Between those three entities, someone's supposed to be communicating something to us. But as it stands, 2024 is actually a reassessment year. And what that means is that if the property values in our district have an increase in value, then the legislative auditor would recommend to us to bring down our millage rate so that our revenue stays the same. But we can have the choice to do a process which is called rolling forward that would keep our millage rate the same, which is 14.13. And in turn, we would basically see increased revenue, more increased revenue than we have in the past through that process. The Tangipahoa assessor must give us that information by March 1st. So it's difficult to see really what our property tax revenue projections will look like until we have that information. But we know that it more than likely will not be less than what we had last year, but there have been some minor fluctuations. So last year our property tax revenue was $382,000. So a very conservative projection would be $365,000. And it very well may be much, much more than that, but we will see when we get that information. And then all these other projections here under revenue are, and at least with my mind right now, the best idea that I have about our ability to secure one-time sponsorships, given the fact that our gold and silver sponsorships are one time and we still have to secure those. We couldn't expect to recruit that revenue twice. But our one-time sponsorship options are really popular. So I do anticipate we'll at least be able to get $13,000 for each for Hot August and for Starry. And then the farmers market has a smaller sponsorship option. There would be some recruitment involved in that, but I do think that that will allow us to have a bit more revenue and participation. And then as well as market, the rental fees for the market, they're running pretty good in terms of where we're at right now in terms of collecting. We still have we have 16 markets left this year, so we're definitely going to exceed our projection for this fiscal year. And given that the rental fees will be increasing for the vendors January 1st, which is halfway through fiscal year 2025, we should comfortably be able to see $45,000.
I have a question, and it's a little bit off, but whatever, are they on par for getting all the stuff needed done?
That's
in somewhere?
That.
Okay, yeah.
And then otherwise, for the expenses, you can kind of read some items there. We are not budgeting to pay $50,000 towards our bond because that is paid off. And I also do not budget any capital projects because there have been additional items related to marketing and advertising like we've talked about. So the biggest things here that that we have talked about that I have budgeted for, which are up for discussion, would be a contract for content creation underneath contracted services, and then additional funds underneath advertising and branding, specifically for some video production, which is kind of hefty in terms of cost, but would be a durable marketing product that would be worth our time as it relates to this rebrand and having a really great way to deploy our rebrand strategy. Everything else is kind of same old, same old. One thing I will mention that I missed last year was we share the cost of rent for the parking mall that is by PJ's with the city. We pay $225 or $250 a month for that. And so we are perfectly budgeting for it this year. It's not an issue because we're doing fine in terms of expenses and revenue. We're not we haven't had staff, so we have plenty of money to go around. But we're appropriately budgeting for it for this upcoming fiscal year. You will notice, like I said, there's no transfer out to capital outlay, but this is kind of my best guess in terms of some of the projects that we've talked about. And like I said, I think with capital projects, we can work with the city on things, but something that, and as it relates to the intersection, I mean, there's just so much grant funding out there and city funding out there.
I have a question about that millage deal.
Yeah.
Have we taken rollbacks in the past?
I'd have to go back and look at all of that.
And so my other question is, why would we take a rollback?
So whenever a reassessment year is done, basically what happens, the assessor reassesses the values of the property. They give that to the legislative auditor. The legislative auditor is going to produce a recommendation for taxing districts of whether they should reduce their millage or increase their millage to keep their tax revenue the same that it was the previous year. So, because in their opinion, the purpose of the reassessment is to, the purpose of the taxing districts is to keep their revenue the same. You wouldn't want to see drastic increases between one year to another year. So if we take their recommendation, that's just calling, that's called like a not roll forward process. So we would basically take their recommendation as it stands for the millage rate. If we choose to keep our millage rate the same, which would allow us to increase our revenue, the roll forward process basically sends the message to the public that we are looking to get increased tax revenue without the approval of voters. And that's a part of the whole process. So there's additional processes that we have to follow for the roll forward, like 60-day meeting notices. We have to publish. We have to publish in the paper either way. But there are some additional. It doesn't have to go to election or anything. But there are some additional processes that we have to do in order to see that through. So and that was something hard for me to wrap my head around whenever I first heard it.
So it's really not about the millage rate that we got approved. It's about the amount of money that expectation to come in. So they're going to,
Their recommendation.
Right.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So it was a lot for me to wrap my head around. I'm like, that doesn't, I understand it now in their position as a governmental agency.
Oh, it's the government. It makes sense.
So just curious, but like as the world becomes more expensive and we have increased costs, do we get to roll back up and when they assess?
So we have our
time,
maximum millage rate is 14.16. Our
Okay.
current rate is 14.13.
Okay.
So we're not at our maximum millage.
Gotcha.
So, and that's a good thing because we have the flexibility if property values were to go down, if we see property values going down, we have at least those additional 3 points, whatever that calculates out into money, to fluctuate with. So it's kind of like a numbers game, but as it stands right now, in the email that I sent to the Tangi assessor and the legislative auditor, basically we will wait until May 1st until we get our actual property values and see what their recommendation is. And if we choose to, it's the taxing agency's choice to, if they want to keep their millage rate the same or lower it per the recommendation of the legislative auditor.
Okay.
And I tell you, it took me about 16 hours to figure all that out.
And they can recommend, but we can still keep it if we choose to.
Yes, we just have to follow different processes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Michelle, I had a question about the formatting of this. It's going to be elementary, but I just need your help. Take the actual fiscal year 23. We had a total revenue of $517,000.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
The actual, so maybe these formulas actually are not correct. Let me take a look really quickly. No, that's correct. You said that in the actual column D. Sorry, you don't see column D. Yes, it is. Yes, that was our actual revenue.
Okay, so we had just over $500,000, and then we had expenses of $458,000 total.
Yes.
That payment?
Mhm.
So we netted about $60,000.
Right, so we would, our fund balance carryover, the city does not pull that I don't have access to that information, and they don't pull that information until April 1st. So whenever we look at it in April, we'll have an accurate fund balance projection as well.
I guess this is for last year. So last year, using these numbers, we would have had an additional $60,000 go into our fund balance.
Right, so our fund balance started this fiscal year at 379,000, and the difference between our fund balance from our actual, it looks like it was around, let me see. The math that you're saying is mathing. The way that the city gives me information, I haven't been able to trace exactly how they are giving us our fund balance number, if I'm being honest.
Sure. And let me, I'm just trying to get it clear. So would it be reasonable for me to assume that the revenues less the total downtown development costs, whatever's left over goes to our
Fund balance.
Yeah, it would be nice to
Yes.
have that number on here.
Yes.
I don't know if we could.
And so our budget for 2000, or I guess the original budget was we were going to be losing $100,000, right?
Last year? Yes, we over budgeted last year.
But you've actually, I mean, as of now, you've contributed
Never contributed.
$115,000.
Right. And that is,
You should be commended for that. Is that right? I mean, that's
Yeah, I
a
mean,
really big.
So it's technically a positive.
And we're
Right.
budgeting for- I don't know how you got that by me, I wouldn't have, but anyways, that's a joke, but.
so whenever we budgeted, for fiscal year 2023, we were projecting dipping into our fund balance due to, oh wait, hang on. I'm mixing up fiscal year 2023 and fiscal year 2024. The reason for that increase of revenue for fiscal year 2023 was mainly due to taxes, was due to property taxes. It was about 75 grand. And that's where trying to estimate that a little bit better year to year is what the information I'm trying to get from the assessor. So we saw about 75,000, 77,000 in additional taxes than we projected. And then we had around 20,000, and that came from bench sales and brick sales.
So, you should be commended for what you've
Okay.
done from a budget perspective. You've done a great job. But what I'm concerned with is that top line revenue number.
Yes.
If we made over $500,000 in '23, and I think we have to think about that as a team. We won't solve that in this meeting. That's I've always seen that historically come from events, the supplemental things or the projects, but I think as a team, we'll have to think about how we drop that number, given the volatility of the taxes that you've described.
All right.
Also, I will revise. So this is also, the city recommends us use a really wacky spreadsheet to do our budget, and I did this breakdown for my purposes of planning, but I will add a fund balance contribution, I guess, item.
All right, next up is discussion of the DDD loan program revisions.
So this is a continuation of this discussion. We have completed our requirements per law, I guess is the best way to say it, that our program is now compliant with the USDA. And when we initially started talking about the loan program, we had discussed making several revisions, but we found out that we can't even make any of those revisions because we don't even have a compliant program. So basically where we stand now is in your packet you have our current loan application, and page 2 spells out the current products that we have. And then the second document you have is a draft, which is what we discussed early last year at some point. And the major changes that we sought to make, if you look on page 2 of the draft document and compare those products on page 2 of the other document, probably could have done a little table for y'all, but I did not think about that until now. We had some changes with the product types, and we also had a change and with the interest rates, and we also were requesting that we increase our cap loan amount to $150,000. Right now it's $75,000. So basically, I wanted to put this before you all again, so that if we would like to see these revisions, the draft revisions that you have, as they stand, or if we wanted to change them. But either way, we can formally now submit to USDA to change our loan offerings.
Is this something we should vote to put into place if we decide that this is good?
Yes.
Yeah.
What does it say about interest
Does anybody have comments on it? or-
Well, I'll just say, what Michelle and I tried to do, was just make it simpler. It would ask for the same stuff in different formats over and over, and we tried to simplify things. If you go back to the original, the budget package, I guess the February 2024 financials, we have in notes receivable, so these are loans that the DDD's made out, that Michelle facilitated, over $200,000. And if you go to the next, I guess, page 3 of the financials, you can see what we earned on that.
Yep.
Of, I guess, $3,200. That's not a lot of money for $200,000 in loans. So, I guess what we tried to balance out was like, it's a benefit to businesses in the downtown development area, and we wanted to be able to extend credit to them to help, business start off. At the same time, I think we might want to make more money than we have been. So those are the kind of, and I don't know the answer today, but those are the two things that I was trying to change, was just make it simpler for people, and try to make some more money.
And basically, just so everyone's aware, our general fund and our loan fund are two separate pots of money. So we don't have discretionary ability to spend any of the interest of the money from these loans. It all goes back into that loan fund, and then it basically builds to do more loans.
Do we have a set number of loans we can,
for 5 years?
No, our,
and I'm sorry if I missed.
no, it's okay. We have
For 5 years?
1, 2, 3, 4. Evan may have just said this, but we have 12 loans, and
I mean,
then
is that something we're?
our ability to loan out
Just throwing
is
it out there, I mean,
is pretty significant. I mean,
free money.
$680,000.
So where does it say what the interest rate proposal would be? Or where's it at?
So in the draft, on page 2, when you look at the draft, each of the products, they have their own interest rates. So currently, right now, our interest rate for all of our loan products is 2%, 2 points below the prime rate on the day that the business owner closes. This changes it so that the interest rate is by each of the types of products. And the most generous interest rate would be for
I mean,
our
is this what we're proposing for the new one to be?
real estate cash loan, which would be our secured loan. That would be the maximum value and the most attractive interest rate.
And
And what's that one? I'm trying to find it.
Real estate cash.
Real estate cash, number 3 in the draft.
this is what we really looked at like 5 months ago, right? And
It was,
basically,
yeah. It was probably over the summer, I think we did. But yes, this is the last draft that you all looked at and approved. And then we're like, oh, we can't even do any of this because USDA, we're not compliant with USDA.
So this is current.
because I remember talking about
This
this,
is
and
what-
we basically were,
Discussed last.
this is what we had come to after several meetings and conversations.
I think.
I can't remember. I mean,
Yeah,
so long ago, I
we
can't remember
we discussed this in several meetings.
Okay.
So would we be
For sure.
compliant with based on this, or no?
So, to my understanding, the process is that we have the ability to structure our loan program however we would like. The only requirements that USDA has is that we follow the law with our lending practices, but we have the ability to structure it how we would like. We may request these changes, and they may say, "Oh, we would like for you to." Excuse me. They may come back to us with revisions. But I have to get some water.
That's the worst, that tickle.
These right there.
We'd like to check this and we've got to go through this audit process before we
Yeah.
to make changes.
It's that tickle.
Michelle got us through that audit process and we got a clean bill of health from them. and now
The process would be us submitting this to
Changes,
USDA.
changes. Okay.
They would go over it, and then they may give us recommendations of what they would like to see. But from my understanding, we can structure the program as we
So
would
as far
like.
as the rate changes, it used to be 2% below for everything, and now, so we just changed the unsecured and the other inventory one. And then, so basically, the real estate cash stayed the same for the rate, right?
Yes, and then we increased the amount to 150,000
Yeah.
versus 75. And then the first loan, looks like we basically increased the amounts on that one as well, because that was 25,000. We increased it to 50.
Unsecured stayed the same?
25,000, except the interest would not be 2 points below the prime rate.
Man, these rates are incredibly low, in my personal opinion.
So-
I'm looking at the second page with the new stuff. I mean,
So it would be, so right now, interest rates are around 8%, right? 8.5%. So if someone were to close on this real estate loan, then it would still be a 6.5% loan. The purpose of the USDA loan program is really to provide a more
Advantageous rate.
right. So it is, the purpose of the program is not actually to be like a bank to make money. We do have a lot of discrepancies in where our revenue is kind of sitting with interest. But the appeal of it for us and for business owners is for it to be more attractive than a bank.
and I understand that, but looking, I'm just now digesting this, but we're increasing the amount that we're loaning to them at a really advantageous rate to them. And still way below anything they could get anywhere else. I'm just the first one, for example, we're going from 25 to 50 at 1%.
Oh, no, it's
Prime
prime minus one.
Prime minus 1. Okay.
Yeah, so that would still be around a 6.5.
Okay.
7.
All right.
Yeah.
It's just really good rates.
Right. But so like whenever COVID was happening, we did make loans for, well, the minimum that
Probably
we
2%.
made them for was 1.5%.
Yeah.
So we made several loans for 1.5%, 2%, 2.5%.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I'm just making sure that we're.
Yeah. Yeah. So 2 points, a point or 2 points below prime. So subtracting it, but not 1% or 2%.
No, it's not one, but
Yeah.
it's just still, I got you. Just with increasing the amount of the loan that much, is the only thing I was
Yeah.
throwing out there.
A lot of these loan caps were I think the program started in the 90s. And
It
so
was.
It was super low, and we thought with inflation and as expensive as things have become, we want to have a higher top. It would be regulated by the amount of collateral they put up. So it couldn't exceed, like for this first one here, leasehold inventory, FF&E, it couldn't exceed 50% of the asset value.
Okay.
So you're kind of.
Gotcha. Okay. And just in regards to do we know with the son of a biscuit situation that you brought up earlier, is with, him?
They're
still having-
required to continue to pay. There's a
Right, but is he planning on doing something else in the location? to-
So he is terminating his lease. He alluded to that he has other projects happening in downtown, but he is done with that location.
Okay. Understandable, but it's a tough location.
It is a tough
Well,
location.
the building itself is
The
tough.
building is a tough building. It sure is. She's been through a lot. It's okay.
Well, is there any more discussion on it? If not, I'll make
You
a
want to approve it?
motion to approve.
Okay.
I'll second. So warm in here.
Todd DeLon,
Yes.
John Exnicius,
Yes.
Mary Gito,
Yes?
Chelsea Kesnick,
Yes.
Hans Kinchin,
Yes.
Kaylee Norton,
Yes.
Evan Singer.
All right, next up, revisions of the Hammond Farmers Market and Artesian Market Guidelines.
Artisans, John.
You
Artisans.
always
Oh.
say artesian. It's a totally different word.
Okay, so
Yeah. Say turlet too.
I'm not going to spend too much time on this because there's a lot of specifics here. But what you have in your packet is a document organized by the vendor requirements per vendor category type. There are a lot of exemptions for farmers and artisans that produce original artwork, and we're ensuring that all of those exemptions, such as occupational licenses, state and or parish taxes, are being worked on with those folks. However, the biggest area of improvement that we had some issues with was the prepared foods area. So you can see that those lengthy requirements there. In terms of how their business is operating and how the products that they're producing, how they are producing them, and what the law actually allows them to produce. So we're working with each vendor on an individual basis to kind of get them to where they need to be. You will see that all of the vendors we're requiring the certificate of general liability insurance. If they sell food, it will have food liability limits. This is coming from a recommendation from our insurance provider that we require this for all vendors. Basically, all other markets require this, and with us not requiring it, can actually put the vendor in a worse position. Because if they are hauling their business around in their car insurance is not going to cover that. So, they're usually looking at a policy between $300 to $500 a year. So we have been able to direct them on that one as well. So that's kind of all that there. At our April meeting for the Farmers Market Committee, we'll be going through a red line version of all the guidelines, because there's little things here and there that need to be changed, like requiring them to bring their tent weights because we're right by a railroad. There's there's other safety components that we kind of need to look at related to the market as well, and just its general operation. So this is just a breakdown of where Savannah is at in working with each of the vendors. And she started with all of our prepared food folks because we would need to work with them the most closely to get them to where they need to be. So we've got those folks. She started with them, 28 in progress. 2 have completed everything. She said that that's mostly because there's a Spring Fest this Saturday, so she kind of has put that to the back burner for a moment. And then 37 pending to be contacted are mostly the like artisans and the farmers, which have less requirements anyway. We've contacted all of them about the fact that there will be changes, but on an individual basis and working with them. That's where she's at. So she's working really diligently on it. When we decided last December that we would take this year to get them to compliance, and then so they basically have till the end of the year. But our target is to get everyone contacted by June, so that everyone knows what they need, and then
Okay, so currently we have 2 that have done everything? Is that what you're saying?
they've submitted everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there, any that are gonna probably not go forward? Have there been any,
We've had one vendor, she's older and, kind of set in her ways. So she has decided to take some time to think about it, to see if she wants to, continue to operate her business through the market. We have reached out to her, we are willing to work with her. It seems that she's not willing to work with us. So that is what it is.
so one loss?
Yeah.
Does Savannah have like a goal as far as like how many to get per month?
So I don't know if she's broken it down that way. I do know that what she has left are kind of the easier ones. But we can do some goal setting.
Okay.
Well, you said
I
by
just
June,
think that
there's
might
only been
be-
2 done out of 30.
Well,
It's definitely not a 6-month process to get, for them to get this done.
Right. Well, so that's part of the thing. So she's contacted 28 of them. Like a lot of our vendors were not operating with a business license or an occupational license. So in order for them to get their occupational license, they need to register for a business. They have no exemptions. They have to get state sales tax. So there's all those processes that they're working through right now, and our prepared food folks need the most work because they have to do most. Whereas our farmers have several exemptions. They don't have to have occupational licenses. They don't have to have a lot of things. They all know, all the vendors know this. They all know this, but they haven't gotten like individual outreach of, if you haven't already taken a look at this, this is specifically what we need.
And by the end of the year, if they haven't, they can't start the new year.
Right.
So I think if we could put some goals in place, I just did some quick math on the pending number, just because the 28 are already in progress. If she could set a goal for like 4 to be completed a month, that might help. Just so she has something.
Yeah, to work towards.
Yeah.
Well, and also, I'd say by end of September,
If they
should all be in progress.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. So then maybe 6 with that
Yeah.
in mind.
When did we go, I mean, this was a topic of conversation several months ago. When did we go from that to everyone's being required to do all, because there's a lot of concern that at the meeting I was at, I think there was a lot of people here that were, they didn't say a lot, but they were.
We made a lot of
People
progress.
reached out to me in the, which I share with you. Again, how do we get from, this is an idea of something we might do to, like, everyone's required to do this year?
So there are a few different ways I could answer that question. I will say that with the market's increased vendors, it puts us kind of in an interesting spotlight when you look at the way other larger markets are operating. And when you compare our operations to New Orleans, Baton Rouge, Denham Springs, even some markets that don't really have a whole lot going on, we had really no requirements for our vendors. I mean, they could really just, as long as they were paying parish sales tax, they could set up and sell. So there have been several things that have been I've put on the back burner since I became the manager in 2020. And honestly, there was like a whole list that Olivia had left with like, these are things that we should probably get vendors to do. Things kind of came into the forefront where, one, we were talking about increasing the rental rates, but also with the expectation from our insurer that they would have commercial liability insurance. It's like, okay, well, how are our vendors structuring their business? And turns out a lot of them are not operating as a business.
So our insurance came to you and said, you need to make sure these people are insured.
Yes. Yes. And so through that process was like, okay, we've got to really take some time and go through all of this. And really at the end of the day, our vendors will have stronger businesses through this. There may be more expenses incurred and what have you, but this should allow them to scale and diversify in ways that they may had not even thought about prior.
And just to bring it back up, because I think it was brought up at a past meeting, but just to highlight the fact that the DDD is paying an employee to manage the farmer's market. So we talked about having some expectations for them to meet just to cover downtown Hammond's back as well.
Yeah. So, but we've made, yeah, so the hard feelings a couple of months ago they're softened. Yeah. And we're working with everyone's, I think most of the vendors understand now, and they're like, okay, well, you're really just slapping me on the wrist through this process, but it's like these are the things that they know that they've needed to do, and so it's a net benefit.
Basically a formality too.
It's partially law.
Yeah.
So, okay, where are we at?
All right. Next, new business, discussion of 40th anniversary of Main Street program.
Okay, so with the history exhibit panels being installed in the park, and that kind of being 6 months delayed, it makes for a perfect captive opportunity to not only celebrate this installation of the history exhibit in Railroad Park, but to also have it tie into our 40th anniversary. Excuse me. And the document that you have in your packet kind of summarizes a few different discussions that I've had over the past couple of weeks. But what we see to celebrate our 40th anniversary, to I guess officially or formally celebrate it with our community, is by tying it into the history exhibit dedication and really making it a meaningful celebration. So we met with the history exhibit work group that assisted the development of the panels, not last week, but the week before. And the design committee also took a look at talking about it, and the events committee kind of talked about it. So several people have talked about it. We are looking at a weekday date to celebrate the dedication. Initially, the history exhibit work group thought Thursday, May 16th would be a good fit. However, it's not because it's St. Thomas graduation. We are looking at the month of May for a few reasons. One is that it is far enough away that we have time to plan. 2, it is National Preservation Month. 3, it does give us a little bit more, it gives us some time before summer kind of gets here and maybe people are out of town. However, May is a really difficult month. So the next 2 best options that we have are Thursday, May 2nd or Thursday, May 23rd. To host a dedication, and we are looking to specifically, we're partnering with a lot of people on this, but we are, in particular, the Tangipahoa Chamber of Commerce. They will be partnering with us kind of as an after hours component because they do after hours quarterly. So they want to partner with us on the celebration and bill it as one of their after hours events so that we'll see a big Tangipahoa Chamber presence there as well. So both of these dates, the May 2nd and May 23rd, are dates that Melissa is okay with. Most people have some concerns about the 23rd because it is before Memorial Day. However, the challenge of the 2nd is that there is an event in Kate Square Park that day at 5:30. It's a National Day of Prayer, people. And I don't know if we want to compete with that. I don't know. So that's where we're at right now of those 2 dates.
The 2nd seems a little soon.
That I would not prefer the 2nd.
I think that's a little soon to prepare.
Yeah.
And
Do it well. Done. Yeah, I agree. I'm not a fan of the 2nd. I'm a fan of late May.
Okay, then 23rd.
Are you going to be here?
Is there after hours always on Thursdays?
We talked about what would be your other suggestion.
Just wondering, it's a long weekend.
Should we do it on a Wednesday?
That's what I'm kind of getting at.
We could. I'm gonna text her.
I mean, is it really that important? Well, never mind.
It is important.
No, not about what you're saying. I was saying, is it not about what you're saying? My fault. No, is it that important that it's in May? I mean, I know that it's lining up.
Yeah, the heat. Doing it beginning of June or July.
It's gonna be hot.
Because the heat.
So, okay, my other thought about June was, on June 1st was the day that we held a grand opening of Railroad Park in 2022.
It's kind of cute.
June 1st is a Saturday this year.
But I'm just not hung up on because this date is this date. Nobody's gonna know that. I think what's more important is a
Right.
date that we can be prepared properly and not compete with something else. You know,
23rd to 22nd or 23rd.
I think the Wednesday might be better, just because if people are going out of town.
Labor Day, I mean Memorial Day.
and, you know,
Do
Wednesday
you feel
would
like
compete with
Thursday
that.
before that weekend? is
It's
gonna be,
leading into Memorial Day.
Okay, I'm gonna
I
text
don't
her.
think June 1st is that terrible. I mean, how much
No,
hotter
early
is it
June,
gonna
I think we
get?
could do early June.
I mean, that next week is May 30th. Is that,
Let's see.
May
I'm
30th
gonna be out of town for
or
that,
June
but
1st?
you can see that.
I think resounding thought is it needs to be done before Memorial Day.
Okay, then I would try the 22nd, Wednesday, the 22nd.
I would say not the 23rd, only because of Memorial Day.
Okay.
Just my opinion.
So I think that will be potentially your day. Okay. So I will confirm that with her and
Wind down Wednesday.
a wind down Wednesday. Well, they do usually, as a part of their after hours, they do look for a company sponsor.
Yeah.
So if any of your companies are interested in being the business associated with this outstanding event to celebrate these history exhibit panels and our Main Street 40th anniversary, that's my
If I win
pitch.
a grant, that could be a good.
Yes, that could be a good tie-in. If anyone's interested, or you know, business that might be interested, Holly and Smith might be interested actually.
Right. How much would that cost?
I think it's only like $500.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't think
We
it's.
could have a
yeah,
company.
Holly and Smith will probably do it, but let me.
I think it makes perfect sense for
Yeah,
Holly
I
and Smith
think
to
so
do it.
too.
That would be beautiful.
Are we gonna see if, Jeffrey, Paul, or Michael will come speak?
We're gonna, oh yes, so now that we have a date, we can put our brains together around like remarks and all of the, all of the harmonious
It could be a
things to
combo,
occur.
and then we could do a little catering.
Okay, well, look at that. Everything's coming together. Melissa would be,
Girl, you
Melissa
got
was,
it. We good. We got
yeah,
it covered.
Melissa was like, what do we do about this? I was like, I'm pretty sure we can figure it out. She's just so used to doing after hours on her own, I guess, that it's like, no, we're collabing. It's a collab.
I mean, I could cater it.
Yeah. Okay, we love that. A little bite.
Yeah, just some little snacks, some little hors d'oeuvres.
Okay, cool. Timing, they usually do their after hours 4:30 to 6:30. But we could probably host it from 4:30 to 6:30, but we wouldn't do remarks until around like 4:30, until 5:30.
Yeah.
Give everybody a chance to get off work.
Okay. So,
Sounds great.
It's a great opportunity for us to encourage people to go into all the downtown restaurants after.
exactly. Sure that is. So that is kind of the biggest thing. You'll see like other things mentioned here that the history exhibit group kind of took a look at. We have some of those people working on looking at a commemorative item for the 40th anniversary, and other celebrations throughout the year. Like we would love to do some guided historic walking tours in downtown, because right now we have a walking tour, but we don't have any guided ones. So we'll be working with everyone, historic district, city council, everyone on this. And basically throughout these past 3 months, I've done nothing but talk about it to people. And now it's time to get some things in motion. So if you have any ideas, please let us know. You can see kind of all the ones that we've talked about so far. I think we may, Kaylee, advertising and marketing may want to talk about like just the look of what we have done like blue and green because that's the color of Railroad Park for stuff, but maybe we want to look at something a little bit different of like what it's going to look like.
Our meeting's on Wednesday, so
Yeah.
before Wednesday, I'm gonna try to get like some legit stuff.
Yes, yeah. We're putting our thumbs up. We are doing things.
I plan on talking with some committee members in the next day or two, so
Yeah.
I'll get on that.
I think a lot of people have committee meetings next week. Raise your hand if you have a committee meeting next week.
Mine got moved to the next.
Yours got moved. You have a committee meeting. We need to talk about our committee meeting agendas, y'all. Not right now, but
I made a calendar invite and my phone for tomorrow.
okay, good deal. We love that. Planning on the spot. Okay.
It's my life.
Yes. Okay, that's all that. We have a date, we have a time, we have a place.
Good
Great.
deal.
Rest
Next,
will follow.
approval of facade grant for 400 West Thomas.
Okay,
Let me talk about this.
yes.
Okay, so the design committee had a presentation from the building owner, and the design committee voted to approve this. So now this board, the design committee voted to recommend approval of
They
this.
did. However, that was before we realized that our friend did not follow the directions of the historic district.
Right, but the historic district approved it,
Um,
right?
They gave him, you can see the certificate of appropriateness. It said the natural exposed stonework is to remain unaltered, and he painted the stone.
Yeah.
You already painted it?
He already painted it. So and basically the directive that he has now from the historic, this is a very unique situation. This has never
Right.
happened with the facade grant. The directive from the historic district at this moment in time is that he has to correct, he has to correct
Get the paint off.
he has to get the
Okay.
paint off before we will distribute funds for the grant. And I don't really think that they have the authority to tell him that. However, I have a suggestion.
Okay.
I think we can approve the grant contingent upon
Compliance.
compliance. Yeah, that's what that
I
is
think
my
that would probably make the most
All right.
sense.
So,
We have before and after pictures.
We do. So I have them in here. I'll show you. Where are we?
I think it was partially painted.
Oh.
And
it
then,
it was.
yeah, so he just went and
Stone.
painted it all.
Hang on one second.
Did he partially paint it?
Like, there was-
He
it was
painted
already-
the whole thing.
Yeah, he was just supposed to repaint what was already painted, but he went and painted
To
the
make it
the
match.
stonework. He painted all white as well.
I didn't print out the pictures just because that takes a lot of ink.
So just a real quick question. So when he went in front of the design committee, do y'all tell him he needs to go to this?
We didn't realize it until he left, and we started looking into it more, that the historic guidelines said you're supposed to leave stone
Altered.
unaltered.
So
We had already voted
He got
on
the
it.
he got the approval from the historic district to paint the building.
Right, he got the approval from them to paint it.
It looks really good.
I think it looks good. And I know that's not what the rules say, but one thing like Jeffrey was saying was, well, that type of material is not really historic to here. That type of stone is not
okay.
really historic
Well, it
to
depends on
Hammond, but.
Right. Well, it depends on, as far as history goes, it's
Right.
50 years.
Right.
So at some point, 50 years ago, it's historic.
Right,
You know,
right,
so.
yeah.
Because you're capturing kind of every era that.
Right, but we didn't, the design committee didn't realize it wasn't in compliance until after he left, because the historic district had already approved it. So see, he painted that.
Well, they approved, and he just went further with it, right? They approved.
Well, where does it say, where did you see where it said, leave it
So
unaltered?
on the certificate of appropriateness, it says under the summary.
Oh,
of
there it
approved
is, I
work,
see.
The natural exposed stonework is to remain
repaint.
unaltered.
The white on the building, yeah. I see, yeah.
Just pressure wash it off with the
Yep.
paint.
All right, well, I'll make a motion to approve with the stipulation or pending that he's in compliance with the Historic Commission.
I second. What's he putting in there?
It's his office, he has an IT company.
Okay.
Oh, wait, you know what?
Just like a few people
Since I'm on
working.
the Historic Commission.
Oh, you probably.
Let's see old Euro.
Let me not do
Might-
that.
you might,
But
yeah.
actually,
Euro bill.
since I'm
gonna
on the
rescind
Historic
his
Commission, let me just
I'll make a
refuse.
motion
from that.
to approve with contingent on being in compliance with the historic commission.
And I'll second.
Okay.
Can she second?
Yeah, she.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So we have a motion on the table to approve the grant contingent upon the compliance with the historic district, made by Kaylee, seconded by Mary. Take a vote. Todd DeLon,
Yes.
John Exnicius,
Abstain.
Mary Gito,
Yes.
Chelsea Kesnick,
Yes.
Chance Kinchin,
Yes.
Kaylee Norton,
Yes.
Evan Singer.
Yes.
All right. Next up, recommendation to direct a request to the city of Hammond to declare an emergency at the intersection of Thomas and Oak.
So this was another design committee recommendation during our committee meeting. And again, you saw the kind of the rendering earlier of what those traffic calming measures. We just would like, we think it needs to be dealt with, it has with a more of a sense of urgency than it has been. So we just wanted to make a direct a request to the city to declare an emergency so that could be addressed soon.
So what does that mean? Tell me what declare of emergency. I think of like hurricanes, like what
We don't really know
Yeah.
the process, but basically the ethos is that we, as a committee, as a board, recognize the importance of making this intersection safe, and we would like to work with them to work quickly to implement even just a temporary measure allowable by DOTD that would allow for this basically multiple car crashes to stop happening.
It's a no-brainer.
I know. I fully support.
It's a no-brainer. I mean, you saw what just happened the other night in front of Bayou Bookseller. I mean,
Right.
Yeah, if they were open,
no, something happened
it was
again.
like,
oh yeah, somebody. I mean,
Well, it did touch the building.
like T-bone.
There's some
light.
damage on the building.
I mean, they didn't go into Bayou Bookseller, but I mean, they nudged.
Oh,
them.
wow.
I mean, it's ongoing. I mean,
I didn't realize
they
that
were
happened.
on the sidewalk.
Wow.
yeah, all on the sidewalk. I mean, their intersection has high-speed collisions. They play bumper cars at my intersection. Mine's for entertainment purposes.
Yeah.
That somebody's gonna get hurt there.
Yeah.
People get run over
I've
there
seen like
on
10
foot.
people get hit by cars right
Yeah,
Lane
people,
got hit right there.
yeah. I mean, people get run over there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, mine's bumper cars. Like people on foot get run over there. I mean, this is a no-brainer in my opinion. Just
So basically, there are I believe, and if they say that there aren't, I will go find another answer. But I believe that there are temporary measures that can be put in place here that may not be this, because to do this, you do have to look at changing electrical, you have to look at excavating concrete, like you got to do a whole bunch of stuff. But there are ways to do a curb bump out, which is what this is, that would require these vehicles either when they're turning that they would be slower. Also the sight line issue right here, because it's two one-ways and two one-ways. Other temporary solutions that we could look at for this intersection.
also, would it be possible? I mean, I know that the flow of traffic's a big deal, but just at that particular light, could you delay the changing of the light?
We already have done
They
that.
have.
I mean, just like if it just stayed red another second longer
Yeah, so we
before it turns green. just
DOTD has done that, right?
yeah,
And now
we
they
so
they
yeah, last
recommend-
year we met with DOTD and they made that change. Instead of a 1 second, it turned to a 2 second all red, which they typically don't like doing.
I get it. But,
Yeah,
I mean,
but,
just-
and so part of the reason why they don't like doing it is because people get used to that intersection, like if
well,
it's
I mean, I
local
had the whole
travelers.
downtown
Right.
memorized. I get it. But-
So a 2 second all red is like the max that they will do. So it's like, okay, we've already done that and it's not working. We need to look at some other
Gotcha. Okay.
other things and investments and priority into this intersection to see that it gets changed. So I see that we can push this very far, and I see that if you all are supportive of it, then we can easily deliver it to the mayor at our
Okay,
meeting.
so what is our teeth in this, other than just telling them that's our recommendation? Do we have any teeth?
I mean, if you want me to put together a like an actual resolution, I will. But Lacey knows, like, the crash data here supports an intersection.
What's the-
It is.
Are they taking it lightly, or
It's just simply not
it's
like I don't really know
inaction.
how to describe, like, infrastructure investment in downtown is not a priority.
Okay, so this one, and I'm all for this too, but I'm just hoping it works. So like what, just because we're sending them a letter, you're saying Lacey already knows and it's not getting done. What do you think? the
Right,
letter
but
is?
now it's not just me meeting with Lacey, it's my board
Okay.
saying that this is a problem and that we are
Well,
in a.
can I ask you this question? Would it be more effective is there some type of recommendation that could be presented in front of the public with city council?
Or, yeah,
With
city
the
council,
with the
city
actual
council.
problem?
So I
that
think
it's
we start with the
public?
administration,
Okay,
and if it's ineffective, then we go towards city council.
gotcha.
Also, the striping itself would be, I think, very effective, and that could probably be done in a weekend for minimal cost.
Yes, that is on the,
Without the the bump outs, the
Right.
structure of the curb.
that's on this list.
And the flowers and stuff, but that would be.
So, for streets, striping, street parking, intersections, crosswalks, all major roads, intersections in downtown. That's on this sheet.
Okay.
Okay, do we need to make a motion
So-
for this, or?
Yes.
Okay. Make a motion for the recommendation to the city of Hammond to declare emergency at the intersection of Thomas and Oak.
I will second. Wholeheartedly.
Okay. Todd DeLong,
Yes.
John Exnicius.
Yes.
Mary Gito,
Yes.
Chelsea Kesnick,
Yes.
Hans Kinchin,
Yes.
Kaylee Norton,
Yes.
Evan Seeger.
Yes.
Also, just one tidbit, you will recognize that this intersection has been identified for improvements since before 2011. You'll see that in the city's master plan. So I'm going to put together a case for our discussion with the administration. I didn't feel like it was necessary for this, and I didn't have time to do that for this, but it's time that action is taken.
And do you have the crash data that you can put in there?
I don't have the crash data, but on the email thread with Christine, I'm going to let her know that another crash has occurred, and if she is able to provide me with
Somebody runs red
updated
light
data from the last
too
week.
high speed. I mean, like, they almost went
All right.
into Bayou.
Okay.
Announcements?
Like, they
Oh,
dodged the
just a
brick
few
on the
things in
corner.
here. We are hiring,
Dogs
as y'all
on the
know, and we're looking for
back
interns
T-bone.
in the back page of your binder.
Have we gotten applications for?
We have around 10 applications. John is going to be out of town
exactly
next
where it
week,
was
so
just
Chelsea,
at
I was going to see if you'd be
12:30,
available to do some
12,
interviews with
12:30
me,
at night.
and we will do
Now,
some.
are you, let me ask you this, just as your process, are you doing a phone interview first before you
Yes.
pull Chelsea in?
Yes, I
Okay.
am. So
He thought somebody was dead.
I'm gonna
Everybody was
do
dying.
phone interviews tomorrow and Monday and Tuesday, and then I'm hoping to schedule them like kind of Wednesday, Thursday.
So are you gonna make a decision of like your top threes? Or you're gonna want everybody that's good? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I think it might be,
I think it's usually fairly obvious in a phone interview if I want them or not.
okay.
So if I
Okay.
want them, then they will get an interview. If I don't, if they don't fit the requirements and the phone interview doesn't go well, they're not getting an in-person interview.
Okay.
Does that help?
I just didn't know if you bring it to your top three, you know? That way you're not making.
If I have a top three,
Yeah,
I mean, I have a top three.
okay.
Top one. We have the Spring Fest this Saturday. Please come out. There's lots of fun stuff happening. And then I'm working on a newsletter to send to our business owners about an additional grant that's open right now. American Express backing small business. It is $10,000. And also,
The one from last year that they did?
yes, they do it every year. And also, if you don't know, Mariners is going for the backing small restaurants grant that is also through a similar program. And they are looking for public nominations. So please do that.
Through tonight at midnight.
Midnight. Yes, it's a great opportunity.
All right.
So
That's everything?
that's everything.
Public comment? Nope.
I wonder who that person was.
So meeting adjourned. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I think that's the girl that helps True